Hey guys, welcome to a new video. Today we are continuing on with our sketching of parabolas. Now we're moving on to what we call translations. Now we dealt with these in the Year 8 geometry topic where we looked at translations as a movement, some kind of shift in position of our shapes. Now with parabolas, we have two types of translations we can do on our XY plane. Today we're going to start with vertical, and in the next video we are looking at horizontal. But like we defined translations in Year 8 geometry, this is just about some kind of shift. So moving, changing the position of, in this case, our parabolas. Okay, now, once again, a good way to understand the concept of any type of parabola transformation is through the lens of comparing it with our simplest form of parabola, y equals x squared. And we are going to try a couple of different types of parabolas of this form, and we are going to see the effect of this. Now, by the end of this topic, we would have covered a lot of the different types of parabolas we have in our, if you remember, our standard form of parabolas, which was our y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, in this example, we are going to look at the parabola y equals x squared plus 1. Okay, so here we're going to do this the long way, and then we're going to do it a slightly quicker way just for efficiency's sake, in terms of something that you may want to try if you're in an exam and you have to work a bit quicker. But we're going to start off in the exact same way we've done in the previous videos, and that is to draw up a table of values. Now, let's just consider the form of this parabola. We can see here that before we were dealing with changing this coefficient of a. We started with a coefficient of 1 with x squared, and then we moved the parameters for the a. We changed it, we made it bigger, we made it smaller, and we observed the patterns that happen with our dilations. We also looked at reflections too with this a pronumeral, but now you can see this plus 1, this is our constant c. So we are looking at the effect of changing this c, and our b here is assumed to be 0 here because we have no x term here. So let's just actually make a quick note of that here. My b equals 0. So I'm just working with my a and my c pronumerals here. Now, let's just take a moment to draw up our trusty table of values and try to determine what this parabola might look like. And we are going to still be working with our x range of -2 all the way up to +2. So if you want to practice, you can pause this video, have a go at finding all of the y values for the different values of x by substitution, but I'm going to do this now. So -2 squared, that's going to be 4 plus 1 gives me 5. -1 squared gives me 1 plus 1 equals 2. 0 squared equals 0 plus 1 gives me 1. And 1 squared plus 1, 2, and then 5 again when x equals 2. So let's take a second to just draw these points in. So let's do a different color actually. Let's do it in red. Now, when x equals -2, my y is going to be 5. When x equals -1, my y is going to be 2. When x is 0, my y is 1. And so on and so forth. We're going to plot all of these points along here. Now, I'm going to join up the dots, draw my parabola, and see what I can observe here. Let's try that again. That's about as good as we're going to get it. Now, let's look at all these points. So I have -2, +5, -1, +2, 0, 1, 1, 2, and 2, 5. So let's look at what's actually happened here. We can see that from our original parabola, the shape of it is pretty much maintained. There's no actual dilation, there's no steepening or widening of my parabola, but we can see it's gotten shifted up 1 unit in the y direction. So we can see actually from our equation of our parabola, this represents we can see a shift of +1. So that's what this +1 means. We are going up by +1 units. And we can see what's happening here based on just looking at all of the y coordinates. Because remember here, we're looking at vertical translations, and here everything has gone up. So up and down implies something vertical, not horizontal. So the vertical axis here is my y-axis. So looking at all of the y points here, my point at -2, 4 of my original parabola, that's gone up from 4 to 5. My one here has gone from 1 up to 2. This one here has gone from 0 up to 1. This one's gone from 1 to 2, and from 4 to 5 similarly. So, writing our observation down, all our new y coordinates are 1 more than before. Now let's look at another example here. We said that previously our vertical shift was determined by the value of this c. Now when it was positive, it went up. So let's look at one more case in which the shift, our c, is a negative number instead, and observe the effect of that. Now once again, we are starting with my y = x² parabola, and we are going to look at the parabola y = x² - 2, and we're going to see what happens here. So we're going to draw up my table of values again, and I'm going to do the exact same thing. And remember, there are quicker ways to do this, but we may actually cover those in the later videos. For this video, I actually really just want to get you guys thinking of just doing this slowly and more observing the patterns that happen, and then we'll get a lot more practice in the future videos and look at some quicker ways of doing this. Now, I'm going to substitute all of my different values of x here and see what I get for y. So -2 squared gives me 4, -2 gives me 2. -1 squared gives me 1, -2 gives me -1. 0 squared, 0 - 2 gives me -2, and so on and so forth. Feel free to pause the video and have a go to just confirm those. But we want to now plot in our new points. So I have -2, -2 and 2. -2 and 2. We have -1, -1. I have 0, -2. I have 1, -1. And I have 2 and 2. So these are all my points, And drawing in my parabola, we're going to look at what happens here. Now, once again, the shape of my parabola is preserved. There's no dilations or reflections happening here. But I can see, comparing my original to my second one, I can see it looks like it's been shifted down a certain amount. Now, looking at the numbers again, I can see that I have 4, and that point on my newly transformed parabola goes down to 2. 1 goes down to -1, 0 goes down to -2, 1 goes down to -1, 4 goes down to 2. Do you notice something interesting happening here? Do we notice a pattern, a common difference between all of these points? Well, you can hopefully see here the difference between each of these is 2, because the difference between 4 and 2 is 2. The difference between 1 and -1 is 2. The difference between 0 and -2 is 2. So that means that this guy over here, my C, represented a shift down. So still a vertical shift, but this is a shift down by 2 units. So in the same way up here, as we had all of our new coordinates being 1 more than before, here we see that all our new coordinates are 2 less than before. Each point, each part of my parabola has been shifted down by 2 units. So all of our vertical translations are centered around this guy over here, my constant. Now, just to summarize this, when I have my parabolas in the form of x squared, I should do y equals x squared plus any constant, let's just call it k, this is what they call it in the textbooks. My constant here tells us my vertical shift. If positive, my parabola goes up by the value of k. Okay. And if negative, my parabola goes down. Parabola goes down by the value of k. So this is how we can work with our vertical shifts. It's all to do with the constant that's being added to our parabolas when we see parabolas in this form. Now, once again, this is a simplified form of our original standard form of these quadratics and things like that, but we're going to work up to things kind of containing all of these here. But we are working through slowly so we can see all of the different transformations that we are going to come across. But here we've looked at vertical, dealing with this constant over here, which is going to shift my parabola up or down depending on the value of k down here. This is just an arbitrary pronumeral they've put in the textbook, but all we need to understand is that actual value determines the shift, and that is all we need to know about vertical translations. And in the next video, we are going to look at some horizontal ones. But thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.